The Mid-Autumn Festival is a special occasion due to its cultural aspects, but I have no shame in saying that making and eating mooncakes is what truly gets me excited every year. I've been making mooncakes on this channel for quite a while now, and every year I try experimenting with different flavors and different designs. So if you're interested in any of these, they will be linked in the description down below and in the eye in the corner up above, so make sure to go check this out as well. This year, I'm utilizing the glorious natural color of purple sweet potatoes to make purple snowy mooncakes. I love using natural ingredients to color my mooncakes as I have done with beets, mango, and matcha in the past, so I'm going to continue that today. These purple snowy mooncakes have a really rich sweet potato flavor and also a hint of coconut, so needless to say they're very delicious and very worth making. So let's get started. First, let's make the filling for these mooncakes. So thoroughly wash your purple sweet potatoes, then peel and chop into smaller chunks so it can cook faster. Make sure you measure them after you've gone through the whole process for a more precise measurement. Then to that, add some water. The purple sweet potatoes are going to infuse its color into this water as it's cooking, so later on, after it's done, we can take this water and use it as a natural food coloring inside of the snow skin. As an optional step, I'm also adding a little bit of beet into this mixture to add a tint of red. If you skip the step, the final snow skin can look a little bit grayish without the red coloring. And as I'm trying to keep everything natural here, I'm using beetroot, which is a really great red/pink natural food coloring. Here I have a big pot. To it, I'm gonna add a rack to prop up my bowl and fill the bottom with water. Place in the bowl. And now we're going to steam this. The purple sweet potatoes have steamed on medium heat for 15 minutes. I'm testing it with a fork, so if you poke it and it can easily go through and it's nice and soft, it is ready. Immediately after the sweet potatoes are cooked, you want to reserve the water that is condensed on the bottom so that the purple sweet potatoes don't absorb all of it. So I'm just putting it through a strainer and straining out all of the water. Once the water is reserved, transfer purple sweet potatoes into a food processor or high-power blender, along with the sweetened condensed milk, coconut cream, coconut oil, which does not need to be melted, wheat starch, water, and salt. Then place on the lid and blend until everything is completely smooth. Back on the stove, I have a non-stick pan. I'm gonna pour in my blended purple mixture, look how pretty the color is, and turn the heat onto medium-high. Using a heat-proof spatula, stir this mixture the entire time so that it can cook evenly, which means that your final result is going to be a really smooth mixture and have no clumps in it. Soon enough, the mixture will begin pulling away from the sides of the pan and your spatula and slowly form into a dough. Once the filling is able to hold its own shape and it doesn't stick to your spatula no matter how you stir it, you're ready to take it off the heat. I like to stir this around for just a little bit longer to help it cool down a little bit, then transfer into a clean bowl, cover with plastic wrap, and place into the fridge for it to chill. Moving on, we're going to work on the snow skin part of these mooncakes. In a bowl, combine your dry ingredients. That includes the glutinous rice flour, which adds a stickiness and stretchiness to the skin, rice flour, which adds softness and smoothness, wheat starch, which makes the skin a little bit more translucent, as well as icing sugar, which just simply adds sweetness. For the wet ingredients, measure out how much purple liquid you have reserved from earlier, and then add enough milk until it weighs 280 grams total. We're doing this because the amount of purple liquid may vary depending on, for example, how long it was steamed for or how much was absorbed, but we want to maintain the same amount of liquid in the entire recipe to ensure the same consistency every time. Now just add the liquid into our dry ingredients and mix until smooth. Once combined, add in the sweetened condensed milk as well as the melted coconut oil, and it will take a little bit of time before it becomes a homogeneous mix, but just make sure you keep stirring until it reaches that stage. As an optional step, pass this through a sieve to ensure that there are no lumps in your snow skin. We're back on the same stove with the same pot, same rack and same amount of water as we did when we were steaming the purple sweet potatoes. Place in your bowl and push it to one side of the pot so you can create a gap on the other. Then fold up a piece of paper towel and place it between the lid and the pot itself so that the lid can sit on a slant. And as shown in my little animation here, what this is going to do is allow the condensation to drip back into the rest of the pot rather than into the snow skin and messing up the consistency. Turning the heat up to high, and once this starts to boil, turn it back down to medium heat and let it steam for about 30 minutes. You want to test it by inserting a knife into the center, and if there's nothing liquid inside, then it should be fully cooked. The snow skin is now completely cooked, so we can move on to the kneading process. Now I have the luxury of having a stand mixer do all of the work for me, but if you don't have a stand mixer or any sort of electric mixer, you can refer to my past snowy mooncake videos where I do this whole process by hand. So since I'm not actually going to be touching this with my hands, I don't need to wait for it to cool down, but if you want to leave until this is pretty much at least lukewarm to the point where you won't burn yourself if you touch it with your hands. I have a hook attachment here. This is going to help me knead the dough. And I'm just going to transfer my snow skin into my stand mixer bowl. Knead this on medium-low speed until the dough is nice and smooth and no longer shiny. It should take around 5 minutes. Once this becomes smooth, transfer it onto a piece of plastic wrap. Then tightly seal and place into the fridge to chill. Now we're going to cook some glutinous rice flour to use as an edible dusting powder for later when we're assembling the mooncakes. So on the stove, I have a pan. I'm gonna turn the heat to medium-high, add the glutinous rice flour, and just keep stirring this around until it becomes slightly yellow in color. You can also do this in the oven or microwave. Just make sure you stir this every 20 to 30 seconds so that it doesn't burn. I've set aside the glutinous rice flour so it can cool down, and now we can begin to portion out the filling and the skin to prepare for assembly. My mooncake filling has been chilling in the fridge for 2.5 hours. You don't have to do it for that long, but I like to get it really stiff so that it makes the assembly process a lot easier. But you want to chill it for at least a minimum of 1.5 hours so that it can become really cold. This recipe makes a total of 24 mooncakes that are 50 grams each, and I'm dividing it up so that the filling and the skin is 1-to-1 ratio. I like the taste of that better and also the look of it. So I have 25 grams for the filling and 25 grams for the snow skin. But of course, you can adjust the ratio depending on the size of your mooncake molds and also your preference. So in terms of equipment, I have my electric scale to measure out the filling and the skin so that we can get a really precise measurement and a really uniformed outcome. And you also want to prepare a couple of plates lined with plastic wrap so it doesn't stick. To portion, scoop out your filling, which should be nice and stiff but still workable, and weigh it out. Then roll between your hands until it forms a ball. Place it on your plate, and once you've done so to all of your filling, cover it with plastic wrap, then place it back into the fridge. Moving on to measuring out the snow skin, this has also been chilling in the fridge for about 2 hours. You want to give it lots of time so that it doesn't stick to your hands as much. In terms of equipment, I have a bench scraper. I'm going to use this to cut the dough. And I have the glutinous rice flour, which is now slightly cooled down so it wouldn't soften up the dough, as well as my scale, which I lined with some plastic wrap, and again a plate with plastic wrap. Portion these out to 25 grams like we did with the filling. The dough might be a little stiff after chilling in the fridge for a long period of time, so knead it between your palms to soften it up enough to form a ball. Also lightly coat in glutinous rice flour to avoid sticking. After working with the filling and the skin and kneading it with my hands, it will become soft, so I'm going to put them both back into the fridge for 10 to 15 minutes just to firm up a little more. If your filling and skin is really cold, it's going to make the assembly process a lot easier and it won't stick to anything. I have my mooncake mold ready to go. I've had lots of people ask me where I buy mine. I get all of them off of Amazon. There's a huge variety, so feel free to take a look there. And I also have a silicone mat as my work surface. You want something that won't stick but also won't move around a lot. After waiting for a little more time, we can finally assemble our mooncakes. Begin by taking a piece of the snow skin and briefly kneading it between your fingers to soften it up just a bit so that you can have more flexibility within the dough, which is going to make it easier to wrap around the filling later on. Then flatten it between your palms till it's a little bit bigger than the filling. Then place on a piece of the filling and gently use your fingers to mold it around it until you finally seal it closed. You want to use the crevice between your thumb and your index finger to form a C and just really gently form it like that. Once the mooncake is sealed, Dust it with a little bit of glutinous rice flour and roll it between your hands to get rid of any excess. This is going to prevent it from sticking to the mold later on. Then depending on the shape of your mooncake mold, this step might be a little different for you, but since I'm making squared mooncakes, I'm pressing the mooncake in between my hands to form a bit of a square. Then using the mooncake mold, place it over the mooncake and firmly press down until the design is nicely indented into the mooncake and release. I don't like to dust my mooncake mold because I find that it blurs up the design a little bit and makes it look really ashy at the end. So just make sure you dust the mooncake itself well enough and it shouldn't be sticking at all. Repeat that process 24 times and soon enough you'll have yourself a beautiful batch of homemade snowy mooncakes. I think this is such a unique flavor combination and it's something that you won't be able to commonly find in stores, which just makes it extra special. You could store these mooncakes in an airtight container in the fridge for up to a week, but I would definitely recommend eating it fresh because the texture is best then. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because the YouTube algorithm is not easy on us small YouTubers. And also please subscribe to my channel and turn on that notification bell if you do not want to miss any of my future videos. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival for those who celebrate it, and I hope to see you guys soon. Done.